Welcome to the Rise to Shine podcast with Noelle Kustas, where we ignite the spark to discover your favorite self. It is time to get real, ladies. Hello, and welcome to the Rise to Shine podcast. I'm your host, Noelle Kustas, and today's episode is incredibly close to my heart because I am joined by two of the most brilliant, beautiful, powerhouse women that I know. Ooh, I almost started getting all teary-eyed right there. My daughter, Alexa Johnston, and her amazing friend, Elysee Vielma. These two aren't just navigating their 20s, they're leading in their 20s. My daughter is currently earning her master's in psychology, and Elysee is on her path to med school. And I've got to tell you, these are not just career paths. They are callings for these girls. I was not expecting to get emotional right off the bat. This is so weird. Whew, I have to take a deep breath. Okay. All right. So this episode is not going to just be about ambition. Ladies, I have them on here, and truth be told, it was over a conversation that we had at dinner. And I was like, oh my gosh, you guys have to be on the podcast because it is going to be a conversation about pressure. It's going to be a conversation about performance, about what it feels like to be a woman in your 20s in the world today, with every eye on you and every expectation that is pressing in. We're going to go there today and we're going to talk about it all. And as a woman in midlife and as a mom and watching my daughter's friends growing up, I just want to really preface it with, I'm not here to fix. I'm not here to critique anything or preach anything. I really just want to be here to listen and to reflect and to bridge the gap between generations. So we're not just cheering on the next generation from a distance. I want them to feel like we see them, that we hear them, and we're walking with them in truth and in wisdom and with real connection. Because let me tell you something, I am not worried about these women. I am in awe of them. And I believe with all of my heart that the future is not just female. It is faith-filled, it is fire-led, and finally being defined on our terms. So there you have it, girls. Welcome. I'm so excited you guys are here.
Hi, Mama.
Excited to
Thanks.
be here.
I know, that was so sweet. What a good intro.
I know.
Oh, I wasn't expecting to get emotional. Like it was kind of weird. I'm doing this intro going, oh my gosh, I'm getting all teary-eyed because
I knew you would.
Yeah, you know me well. I was thinking, I'm so composed. I'm going to be great. It's going to be fine. But no, it really is special to have you here. And as you guys know, I typically will have solo episodes where we talk about midlife and we talk about just being a woman in general. But I really felt like it could be such a powerful conversation between all of us, because I know when we're all sitting down together and we start chit-chatting and we start talking, it's like so many great things come out that I think, gosh, this is what women need to hear. And I really do believe that bridging the gap between our generations is so important, because I hear it, and we'll get into this, but I hear so many people in my generation and even the generation above me, so my parents, are concerned about what is happening in our world today. Who are the kids that are coming up, and what are they going to be like, and is our world going to still be okay? All of the questions, right? And so I thought, who better to have but you guys that are in it. You're in the trenches. You are these girls in it. So you guys ready to get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So, okay. So what we'll do is I'm just going to put out a question and we can just riff on that, and you guys can answer where you want to answer, where you feel comfortable. And it's like I always say, it's just like, I always tell my ladies that are listening, it's like either they're driving or they are cozied up to a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, and just hanging out and listening with us. So it's just like girlfriends on the couch. That's what we're all about over here. So My first question to you guys would be, what does being a successful woman in your 20s mean to you right now? What does that mean?
I can start.
I was
Okay.
gonna say, I was like, I know we have similar answers, but
Yeah.
you're better at giving those s- smack on words, like the beautiful
Yeah.
words towards it.
Yeah, I think we are very similar, but I think we're also in different places of our 20s. I think for me right now, a lot of my 20s is very like career driven. I'm just starting out, obviously starting school in September. So a
Mhm.
lot of finding success has to do with like performance in school, connecting, meeting people. I think if I had to summarize it, I would just say like exploring or like exploration.
Mm.
I think both like professionally and socially. Because I think in your 20s you meet so many people that you like wouldn't expect to. And it's kind of beautiful to like find yourself through these new relationships and these new places you end up and meeting people through school or a job or just kind of casually I think it's kind of beautiful to find yourselves through all of these people you're meeting and all of these new places you're being in. So I would just say I think success is just kind of on your journey to find yourself. Not I don't think I'm necessarily there yet, but I'm on my way, I think.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that.
That
Alexa,
was
do you have
good.
anything to add?
Um, the two words that keep coming to mind are, especially like in my emerging adulthood, like my early 20s,
Yeah,
like transformative and like becoming.
Mhm.
yeah,
I feel like I've always kind of known. I feel like me and Elise are very the same. We know who we are.
Mhm.
That's
right.
why we definitely are able to weed out the people that don't fit our needs in that moment. Not even needs. I think just we're in a time of our lives where we want to keep growing.
Yeah.
I think knowing ourselves has helped us become pretty confident as like young 20s, but I think it's so eye-opening because
Mm,
yeah, doing my undergraduate, going into my master's really quick, getting a behavioral interventionist, like I feel like there was a lot of transformative things happening back to back.
right.
That even now I still catch myself having to remind, I don't know, my best qualities about myself, staying confident, being like, Alexa, you're strong. This is a
Mm,
season, it might be weird. So I think just like transformative in a really good way and
hmm.
recognizing the things I need to weed out, things I need to weed in, and also just
Yeah.
like becoming like my best self. I think
Okay.
that's truly the biggest overlaying
I
sentence of
really
like,
like that word. And I really
yeah,
like thinking that like success is finding a way to like lean into transforming into your next self almost.
I love
totally.
that.
I
So
like that.
this leads me to this next question because I think this is so relevant for women in general, but I also am so curious, where do you feel the most pressure in this season of your life?
I I feel like maybe this is just me always having like very youthful point of view to things,
Yeah.
but I feel like I'm constantly struggling with going into my full adulthood, but yet like needing my mom. And I'll always need my mom, but like I guess just finding that perfect balance and having confidence in myself that like I am an adult. I am I am deserving to be in this room metaphorically, but
Yeah.
also struggling with that youth side of myself where I'm like, I don't want to pay my rent. I don't want to do this. I don't
So
like I'm like
adulting.
fighting
Adulting
it.
feels like some pressure.
Yes, I'm like fighting of having the responsibility of an adult and all the things that come with it and wanting to keep moving forward because like I want to grow better in my knowledge of life and just as a woman, but also I'm like I don't want to. I'm good. I'll stay back.
Well, it makes me think about, when I'm listening to you, Alexa, and just even the conversations that we've had, it's this, it's almost like, and Elisa, you can chime in too and tell me if you agree or disagree if this has been your experience, that I feel like, there's this pressure of growing up and adulting, and now it's time to pay your bills and figure it out. But yet, you want to still embrace some of that youthfulness because you are still young. And and it's like, I feel like sometimes we get caught. I know for sure when I was in my 20s, I was caught in that same world as well, is that you want to be an adult, but yet you're like, but when it comes to those big responsibilities, I kind of like still being the kid.
Yeah.
And so you find yourself in this weird balance. And then for me, there was the struggle of feeling like I had to grow up so fast and making decisions that I was like, I don't even know if I'm really ready to make those decisions. So I don't know if that resonates with you guys, if that's, something that you feel with that.
Yeah, I think the one thing I was going to touch on most, which Alexa actually mentioned the word, I was just going to say balance is like the
Mm,
most pressure ever is finding balance in all of these things.
yeah.
Whether it's like your priorities or yeah, the balance between like transitioning from out of college to now post grad. I think I put it off a little because I'm like I think higher education is a really beautiful way to like deter adulthood for a second because you're still in school,
Mhm.
you're still learning.
Yeah.
I'm really lucky to have like a support system that has allowed me to like kind of get my footing and just focus on school. So I get to kind of put off adulting for a little bit longer, as
Yeah.
much as I can.
Right.
But I think it is hard because there is especially I feel like, yeah, in parental relationships, like me and my mom, finding the differences in when you grow up when you're in your 20s now versus when you were in college or high school or like asking for help or not wanting to like cross that boundary anymore.
Mm.
I feel like that's the most pressure is like balancing all of these new things as you're kind of coming into being your own adult.
Yeah. And I'll definitely let you in on a little secret. We in midlife are still struggling with the word balance. It just changes. Like what you are balancing in, it just changes.
So
So
yeah,
it's so fascinating to me because, and I say this all the time, I share this with Alexa all the time that I'm like, in my opinion, you girls are leaps and bounds in your thought process and in the way that you, instead of freaking out about those anxious feelings or those worried feelings, you guys, just the fact that you use the verbiage like I have tools that I use, like I'm like, at 20 something, did I have tools that I maybe subconsciously I did? Maybe I didn't realize they were tools, but I was able to function in my anxiousness. I was able to function in all of that. But like, that's what I mean about like the access to the knowledge that we have now and to being able to like even like know what that means. Like I'm able to tap into anxiety and be ambitious. And I'm like, what the heck? Like this is wild to me because I am telling you, most people were not having those conversations that I can recall in our 20s. Like we weren't. We were just going through the motions. Like it was like almost like survival of the fittest. And it was just like, how do I survive today? And so I guess in a way that is still, having our tools. We just didn't know how to articulate that perhaps. But I find it fascinating because I really do feel like when I have conversations with your generation and with you girls, I learn so much, and I think like, whew, I'm so grateful that you guys, first of all, have had amazing support systems to where you've been able to lean in on your people and your village. But at the same time, you have learned this independence and this confidence, which I feel like a lot of people my age might not recognize sometimes. So, what do you think is something that people misunderstand about women that are your age?
oh, I love this question.
I was gonna say, I was like, Elysee, can you
I
take the wheel? Because
I
I'm
love this
the hat
question.
on.
Um, I think the first thing that comes to mind, obviously, I think the biggest gap is social media
Mm,
and how early we've kind of been exposed to that kind of. I think
yeah.
it's gotten to a point nowadays that's it's really blowing up. But I think when we were younger, it really just opened up conversations, like yeah, learning about wellness and therapy and yeah, all these little like almost buzzwords, but not in a bad way, just of like your tools or coping mechanisms. You hear about that or you see the little posts on Instagram since like we were kids, I think. But I think what goes hand in hand with that is this like progressive openness that I think our generation has that I think is sometimes misunderstood as, I don't know if the right word is like almost a provocative nature or being a little too open online. When I think it really is just some sort of like radical self-acceptance that we've all kind of been lunged into almost as like from a young age. I
Yeah.
think like you're posting yourself on this app that all your friends are going to see and you're kind of okay with it. And you like, I think it fosters this sort of confidence in you. And not necessarily like, oh, I want to show everything, but it's like, no, I'm okay with showing you like this part of me, or I'm okay with sharing this. And I think as much as I battle with social media nowadays, I
Mhm.
think kind of growing up with it almost gives you the opportunity to like really lean into yourself and like really be okay with like sharing yourself with a lot of people or the people around you, your friends, like really like posting yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's often
And
misunderstood a little bit.
right, and putting yourself out there, it almost makes me
Yeah.
think that like for you guys, there is a sense of identity around this
Yeah.
that, and I
Totally.
loved, how did you say that, Elysee? You said like radical, what did you say?
I think openness or
Yeah,
radical
like
self-acceptance.
self-acceptance,
Yeah.
radical self-acceptance. Oh man, this is like,
Yeah.
you said that and I went, oh wow, because that's where, because as parents and as women, in our midlife, like we get worried for now. Of course, for me, it's a little bit different because my new path and what I'm on and what I'm doing has required social media to be a part of that. For most women my age, that is not the case. And for most women in my age, my girls are looking at social media just to, see what their family's up to or to get these like beautiful quotes that they can lean into, but not really using it for themselves to put themselves out there. I have lots and lots of women that are like, oh, heck no, no way. So then, of course, that carries into we worry about you guys and we get fearful thinking like, oh, you're showing too much, you shouldn't do this, or oh my gosh. So I love that you said that there's this radical self-acceptance going on. And I feel like I don't know if we really, I think we see it to a point, but I think that we also, I mean, truth be told, I think that I also hear a lot of frustration around it too. Like, these kids are too much. Like, it's almost like they're taking up too much space. There's too many opinions. There's too many things. And then you guys are going on social media about it. And then we're freaking out on our end. And this is where I'm like, this is where we need to bridge this gap because I do think that such a huge conversation can be had around this topic. Alexa, you were like going like this. What are you in agreement with, or what are your
I
thoughts?
just, when you asked that question and leading off of what Elise said and what you were saying,
Mhm.
we are the like this generation, I think from like, I would say 21-year-olds. Maybe I'll start at 22, 21. Even I look back at our 21 selves and I'm like, well, I don't know if I give them like a whole world to put on their shoulders to give out to people. So maybe 22 to like 29. I would say this generation, and especially women, we are changing everything. We are
Mm,
I genuinely feel like we are the first generation to check in on generational trauma, check in on societal norms, expectations, media, having the choice. But I also think we're the hamster to like the project. Like we have older
mm,
generations being like, they're obnoxious, they're saying too much. Why are they on media posting that? And then we have the younger generation under us, looking at us like they can change something in the world, they can do something. I
mm,
just genuinely feel like we are like kind of the groundbreaking moment to
mm.
things. I jotted this down so I didn't forget, but I was just like, I feel like we're breaking, I don't know, we're questioning roles, we're questioning the pay, like we are the first time that's like actually making a difference in a way rather than just conversation or just women having conversations behind closed doors. I genuinely feel like this is like the first, like we're
Yeah.
like we're outs like being outspoken for us.
Right.
Like we're not fighting
Because
about.
I mean, I will say, you go back into the 60s and 70s, and like women started to rise up and
Mhm.
started to definitely question things. This is when we got to start voting, like, women even like, getting into the military, being able to serve their country. Like that was not a thing before. And, so I mean, it certainly has evolved, right? Like it certainly has evolved, but my I'm curious, do you guys sometimes think that it is too much, or do you accept it for what it is and look just from different lenses, or are you even like, because here's where the catch is. And I only say this because I'm coming from a place of conversation with other women, other, humans in my space and in my age group, that they're like, these kids, they haven't even lived their life yet. They don't even know what they're talking about. Like, who do they think they are? Like, that becomes a huge question. So I'm curious, like, when that is put out there to you guys, how does that make you feel? Where do you go with that?
I think the biggest thing that I've noticed at least is kind of what Alexa mentioned, or I think you mentioned it about like taking up space. I
Mm-hmm.
think that is like the generational gap. I think you can tell just like the generations of women above me, like in my life at least, you're kind of raised to be quiet, more background, ladylike. It's this kind of whole
Mm,
idea of not
yeah.
taking up too much space. And I think we're in the place of figuring out how much space we're going to take up. Like,
Mm,
how do we navigate this new platform, this new ability of being kind of outspoken, driven women? But I
mm-hmm.
think it does get to a point. I battle a lot with social media, just back
Yeah.
and forth of like what it can be and where I find value in it. And I think
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it is a little bit, I think it becomes a little bit much when you're not open to listening to older perspectives or different perspectives. I think the
Mm,
struggle is when you think that you know everything. Because it's true, we are
mm,
young and we haven't had the experiences that a lot of older women have had, um, just inherently by age. And so I think
mm-hmm.
it's only a battle when you're not open to receiving their perspectives and how they see things or how they were raised to view things. I think when that dialogue is cut off, then it's a little bit like, okay, let's take a step back. It's not like here to run over people, but
I
more just
love that.
conversation.
I love that. And of course, as a mom, I appreciate that. I appreciate that sense of, because I do think I agree so much. It's about listening to each other, not thinking that you guys don't have brains, you guys don't have the capability to think and the capacity to stretch yourselves, but then also in return, feeling like there's like a mutual respect in, hey, we have lived a little bit of life, we kind of know what we're talking about. We're certainly not perfect, and we make mistakes, and we certainly, don't know everything. And we do come from such a different lens, because you're right, the way we were raised is very different than how you were raised. Just it happens, the way I was raised was different than how my mom was raised. It just happens when we are in a different generation. But I love that idea of this like mutual understanding and being able to step into the lens of somebody else and going, hey, I want to listen to where you're coming from, because maybe I could learn something from that. And maybe that can help me. And I mean, how many times have you guys been in your lives where you're like, man, my mom was right about that?
Too
And
many.
at the time, you're like, forget you, mom. You're so annoying. Like, you don't get it. But then all of a sudden, you're like, wow, it might not look exactly the same, but it definitely is something that you're like, she was onto something, because I do that about with my mom and even my grandma. I definitely do. So, Alexa, what are your thoughts, babe?
I also think there's been like maybe not so much on like the other perspective of things, but I also think just, I mean, think about our daily conversations with you, grandma, honestly, any woman, like Elysee, even like your mom, Jamie, like all these people we've had so many conversations with that I feel like we're kind of like a breakthrough generation of giving older women and other
Mm,
people like a new perspective. It may be hard to like understand, or they're like, wait, what? What's going on right now? But I feel like it's kind of nice that we're stepping up to kind of change some ideas and some things. And I don't know, maybe this is just like me knowing a lot about generational trauma, but you can feel it. Like you can
Mm,
feel it weigh on your family. And I don't know about you, but like I've had so many conversations with mom, like I'm ready to break all that. Like I stepping into like an emerging adult and just like someone who's very passionate about just like breaking those patterns that aren't good. And like everyone just been kind of like waiting off, like it's fine. And I'm like, guys, this is weird. This is not okay. Like,
mm.
so I think it's like we're also the generation to like kind of break that buildup of thinking that certain roles or how people act, or I just honestly anything. I feel like we're just the perfect generation to kind of speak maybe a different opinion on it, and nothing like, oh, I don't agree with that. But hey, have you ever thought about maybe that's not the best way to go about it? Or I don't know. I was just thinking of like the other perspective of ends of like just the conversations that I've had with like all the older women in my life and mentors.
Mhm.
We kind of like go back and forth. Like they give me wisdom, I give them wisdom, meet in the middle, question it, go back home, come back, have a conversation the next day to be like, wait, actually, I feel like there's just like a better, bigger conversation happening.
I think curiosity is
Yeah.
always where we're going to land in a really great place when we get curious and when we ask questions and when we are actually willing to listen, because I think that might be an issue of not really wanting to listen. You just want our egos get in the way, right? Like our egos get in the way and we're like, nope, we're set in our ways. This is how it should be. Or even if we're like, oh, they might be right, I don't want to admit that. Like I want to like stay in my lane and be who I am. And so I think egos definitely play a part of it, but I always say like curiosity is where I feel like I gain so much wisdom when I start to get curious and I start to ask you guys questions, because I'm already going, oh my gosh, there might need to be a part two to this, because I'm thinking there are so many directions. And maybe we just develop a series where the three of us come on and we even invite some other young gals and we talk about these things, because not only is it going to help me and my generation, but I also think it might enlighten your generation. And because I do feel like we're more the same than we are different. And I think that we all, and I always say this, I feel like in life in general, most people come from a place of love. And we're all wanting to get to what success is to us. And it's just really like figuring out who we are. Like I believe that that is our purpose in life, is to we're using this space to figure out who we are, what we are, and just living it each day and figuring that out. But I mean, I can go on and on about that. But I'm curious for you guys, what do you wish older women or moms or mentors knew about how to support you in what you're going through? Like, what would you wish for that?
I think it's kind of similar to what we were kind of just touching on. I think it's easy for those older, wiser, more experienced than you to kind of want to almost preach their lessons
Mm-hmm.
and stick with them. And I
Mm-hmm.
think I find a lot of the time when maybe something doesn't necessarily apply well to my life or my mentality or where I'm at, it's hard to kind of go back and forth with the advice they want you to follow.
Mm.
And I think it's just that dialogue of like, well, this is what I think, especially kind of how Alexa touched on, like, we have, I think also being in like psychology and neuroscience fields,
Yeah.
kind of have a lot more like education on these psychological things that are happening that I don't think were really talked about
Mm.
much prior.
Good point.
And so I
Yeah.
think to me, there's a gap there. So I think this idea of like supporting you mentally in a wellness aspect requires a little bit more dialogue than
Mhm.
just this is how I feel about it. This is my advice to you and sticking it there.
Yeah. Such a
So
good point.
yeah, you said it so good, Elysee. Like, I think, I mean, even just like doing my undergrad and my master's with psychology, I would say even back in early 2010s or even like early 2000s, mental health was not a thing. Like, it was just stepping into it. I mean,
Mm.
the DSM-5 like didn't even really come alive till later on in the years,
And what
and
is
it's
that?
still
Can you tell
it's like
people
basically
what
a
that is?
psychology Bible, like all
Okay.
the
Okay.
disorders, everything. Like Elise knows it's my Bible. And but just even that, that's such a good point. Like later generations didn't get the chance to even recognize mental health. Or
Mm.
like because I feel like everyone 30 and above are in the state constantly of like doing, being better, moving forward, but you're only really capable of doing that unless like you're in your best self. Like you're
Mm.
putting your health mentally and physically first. Like
Mm.
you're not just like a tank running on no fuel. And I
Mm.
kind of feel like that's how everyone's been living their lives so many years. Cause
Oh,
like, you
that is
know,
so fascinating, right? Because like okay, so here's even something that I go back and forth with because how many times do we hear and I'm assuming you guys hear this too that people will say like we didn't have all these problems when we were that age like we weren't it's like there was
yes,
all these labels like oh my gosh this person is this and this person is that because like you guys there's a lot of labels with you guys like in your generation like everybody
right.
has labels and I'm like I don't know how you feel
Yeah,
about that but it is weird to us like I mean I'm just using the word weird like it's
yeah,
foreign to us that we go did that really exist or was it just not talked about because let's face it I even go back into our family history and on one side of your family, Alexa, like we found out that women were put in institutions and were not like because they were quote unquote crazy or they were off or whatever the thing is, they were basically medicated and put in an institution when now you have to wonder like, were they going through postpartum depression? Like, were they going through menopause and they were just flipping out because their hormones were wacky? Like, I am so fascinated by it because I go, huh. And then some people will say, like Grandma Gigi will say, well, it was just simpler times. And I'm like, but was it? You guys were going
yeah,
through like massive war. Like,
yeah.
there were
You guys had lobotomy going,
fighting.
like,
It's like a lot of going on. Yeah, I mean, yes, it looked adorable, and you guys were all sitting at the malt shops and watch Leave It to Beaver, and I love that because I'm like, I mean, we joke that your stepdad is like, we were like, he was born in the wrong era. He's supposed
generation,
to
yeah.
be a dad in the 50s sitting at the malt shop because he just has more of an innocence about him and more, even though he recognizes like worldly issues and he's very, very intelligent in all of that he enjoys the simplicities of life. And I feel like we even try to create that in our life just for our own sanity, for our
Mhm.
own mental health. And so, um, question is, what does thriving look like for you guys? Like in your 20s, what does it look like for you specifically, like emotionally and mentally? What does that look like for you guys? To feel like you're thriving and it doesn't even have to be you personally but like what have you heard in conversations of like women at your age that feel like man I'm like I'm killing it right now what does that look like for you
I feel when I'm thriving the most when I feel secure in these aspects. So whether it's like my emotional well-being or my spiritual well-being, um, I think it's when I find ways to make myself feel like I'm secure in where I'm at. So whether that's journaling or taking a walk outside, just little routines that help me really ground myself. And when I
Mhm.
feel safe in those routines or like I'm able to really set aside time for myself and like to foster and nurture these parts of my life, I think that's when I feel like I'm thriving the most or when I'm able to thrive in other aspects of my life.
Yeah, how about you Lex?
I I really like how you said that because I feel like how I get to that secureness is like not just going through the motions. I feel like that's when I'm at my like healthiest in a way, is when I'm not like creating every day, not even the same, but just genuinely not putting like thought into what I'm doing, like just mindless activities. And this is, I'm saying this in like the most deepest way. Like I feel like even going through the motions sometimes when I'm sitting with family, I'm doing homework, like I'm not sitting there appreciative for the little things. Like, how cool is it that I'm able to do my master's on this laptop right now? How blessed I am to go to dinner tonight. Like, I think just putting more gratitude in the things I do, that's when I recognize when I'm at mentally my best, is when I'm putting more like loving thought and
Intention.
like presence to things. So like when I'm just like
love that.
waking up, yeah, and just being like another day, like ew, yuck.
So
Like I
you're
do
like,
be
so
so
really for
sad.
both of you, it's like living in this present moment
Mhm.
of, being in the present, being intentional, and
Yes.
also being able to really think about your gratitude and how, and almost like even Elysee, when you said like journaling and taking a
Mhm.
walk, I mean, that's almost like the practice of gratitude because we talk about
Yeah.
that a lot. There's one thing to feel grateful, but there's another thing when you're intentional about practicing it. And I love like this. Ooh, this just gets me all in my feels because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is why these girls are so amazing. Because you're recognizing how the practice of gratitude literally can change your life in your thought process of this is where I thrive.
Mhm.
It's not about the doing the thing. It's not about like, oh, I'm thriving when I'm getting all my homework done. I'm thriving when I'm, quote unquote successful. It's when I'm noticing the small, like beautiful things about life. That is thriving. And
Mhm.
holy cow, like
Yeah.
these are the things that I just go, you guys have so much wisdom. And man, in my opinion, ladies, those of you out there listening, like this is why we need to be having conversations with the 20 somethings, not poo pooing them, not thinking. And this is where I said I wasn't going to lecture. I'm not lecturing you guys. I'm my listeners going, ladies, like if you're not having those conversations, if you're not listening to the younger generation, we're missing the boat. We are missing the boat. And it is so, so important. And I feel like the more that we show up for you guys, the more you guys actually show up for us. And that's where I think we are going to get to a place where we can bridge that gap. I mean, that's my hope, anyways. I live in a glass half full all the time. Or, well, I shouldn't say all the time because realistically, there are times that I, have to remind myself to be in a place of the glass half full instead of half empty. But it's a journey. I mean, life is a journey, and we all have so much that we can learn from each other. And it doesn't mean, and you guys tell me if you agree with this or not, like when we're having conversations with each other, it doesn't mean we have to always agree with each other. Like,
Absolutely.
how many times, Alexa, have you and I had a conversation and you have a very different perspective and I learn from it and I respect it and I take it in to process, but I don't always come out on the other side agreeing. Like I could go, I don't agree. And
Yeah.
like, right? I mean, don't you?
Even when you say some things, Bob, I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, okay. But nothing like I'm not disagreeing. I'm like actually like using it for my benefit to like maybe strengthen my side of things, or maybe even being
But
like,
you know what? I'm
yeah,
gonna like
right?
say that you do. It's okay to disagree.
Hmm.
If
I
everyone
mean, even
agreed,
saying,
life
"Oh
would
no,
be
I'm not
boring.
disagreeing." No, honey, you can. You can
Yeah.
disagree with me, and that's okay. I always say, if you disagree with me, just tell me why. Like, give me not only your opinion, but back it up with something. Do your research. Like, it's okay to have that opinion, but just really like think about it, research it. Really, don't just, I mean, it's just like with voting. I mean, this is a constant conversation. At what age do we say people are ready to vote? I mean, we've often talked about even like you guys would know this better because you guys are the brain experts, but like your development, your full development of
Yeah.
your brain. Tell one of you chime in and tell the audience because I say this and I'm like, I want it to come from my brain experts here.
Between 25, 27, like latest 27 is like that's your cutoff point. Like your
So
brain
like
is fully there.
at 18, your brain has not fully developed yet.
No, not
I
even
think you always
close.
hear like at 25 the frontal lobe develops. That's like the like buzz statement. But I think like you really have to think the frontal lobe is responsible for like higher functioning, like executive functioning, decision making, impulse control. So like all of those things are still being worked on. You're not really all there yet.
Right. Right. And I think that that is something to, consider, and not that you don't have great, because Alexa, you are how old? You can tell her already.
23.
23, and Elysee?
23.
23, both. So like not even fully developed at this point. However, you guys have also used your brain to its capacity, and like you have learned how to be a critical thinker. You have, had conversations. So it's not to devalue someone that's under 25. It's just that there are still thought processes that may, well, and will, not may, but will change for you guys, because it's all still developing. And not to mention your life experience, because Alexa, that's something with you. Like, you've been in a relationship with the same person since you were 16. You've been with your boyfriend for 7 years. And most people at your age are still single, still trying to figure it out. I know, Elysee, you're dating and you're kind of going through that. And again, priorities are different for each. And even that brings new perspectives to a table, because I'm, even as a mom, I can't even tell you how many times I get oh, we're so sad that your daughter found her guy in high school. Like, that's like too early. Those young romances never work out. And I'm like, like, we don't know. But we don't know with someone who gets married at 35. Like, so it's a matter of like, and I've watched you and your boyfriend change and evolve. You guys are not the same people, obviously, that you were at 16. And so we've watched this evolution happen, and, we're just along for the ride. And we're like, hey, as long as you are happy and you're in a healthy relationship, that's what matters. And so it's interesting. It's very interesting as you're going through it, and having the different perspectives, for sure. And that would lead me to say, like, what role does faith or inner grounding play in your life right now? Is there a space for that for you guys? Do you lean in on that?
Oh, I think it like drives me for everything. I feel like, I mean, me and Elise talk about this all the time. Like, always making sure that like just checking in on ourselves. Like, every time, I think I personally always text Elise almost every single day, and half the time I'm like, let's hang out, let's study. Oh, really? It's because I just want to know she's there and we're going through the same things. But like, whenever we talk, the things that drive us is like family, making sure that we're okay, we're balanced. How are we feeling? And like, I mean, I think as I've gone older, what's weird is I've not been showing up to church as often as I did younger, or did my like, well, I think it was easier because I went to private schools just already there conveniently. But I think the more as an adult, I have the choice to show up or not. I feel like I lean on God more, recognizing that faith really does like drive me, and it gives me hope, and it kind of gives me a sense of peace that like, if it's not in my hands, it's in the hands of someone that I have trust in. And obviously, me and Elise always say, like, if something goes south, we're like, God, are you playing a prank on me right now?
Yeah.
Is this a learning lesson? What's going on? Like, it kind of almost eases it up, knowing that there's always a purpose to something, there's always a lesson to something. We're never here to just be like, a ball getting hit with a bat over and over again. Yeah.
I always say like faith keeps me sane.
Yes.
I think like when I was especially going through like application processes and just so much uncertainty, like I stay so sane in the idea that I have faith that everything will work out in a way that is beneficial to me in my life. Like, even if it's not exactly what I want or exactly what I've imagined for myself, I know that I have trust in some sort of higher power that everything is going to be okay. And there, I can find a reason in all these things that are going to happen to me. So I think without that rooting principle, I'd go crazy. I'd lose my mind.
Right?
Yeah.
Seriously. I wouldn't even know what to do. Because like, I think just like when it comes to anxiety, all the like just the misfortunes when it comes to life, emotions, like whatever, that's like the only thing that keeps my head above water. Because
It's like
there's
the idea
only
of like
so much
feeling
that
lost.
other yeah,
Yeah. It keeps
really.
me from feeling lost for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Because there's only so much like, you know, your loved ones or family members can do.
Well,
And
we're
you
Mhm.
really
human,
like that
right?
makes
Like
me
humans are not perfect. And
Mhm.
humans, like you said, we have, there are gifts in having relationships and gifts in having community and a village. But, that's where I was curious with where you stand with your faith. And do you find that other women your age lean into that as well? Whether it be, and I mean, it could be
Depends.
in God, it could be faith in, whatever, like, or do you feel like women your age mostly put faith in other people?
Mm,
I think I know there's a big part of social media that's like Christian based
okay.
women. I think that's like a big push. And then I think there's no middle ground. Like I
Hmm.
think for the people who just kind of want to focus on faith for themselves and not, I know like people find faith in different ways. I don't think there's a big push for finding personal faith or
Hmm.
um I think that kind of gets lost, I think, in translation. There's no like middle ground.
Hmm.
Um yeah, I don't know. I think it's hard at this age. I think there's like so many differing opinions and everything is so loud that it's kind of hard to find your place sometimes within like the big group.
It's noisy. It's noisy, even for me. And I remember honestly at your age, I grew up in the church, and I remember at your age living at the beach, and I was in college, and I there were so many different things that I was exposed to that were so different, such a different way of thinking. And I explored that a little bit. Like I explored that, and it took me, I think, uh, I think I was probably in my late 20s. Yeah, for sure, late 20s, early 30s, when I finally was able to go, oh, this is where I stand in this. This is where my faith lies. And this is what feels right for me, and just in my whole inner being. Because even when I was exploring things, there were certain things that I was like, there's just something that doesn't feel right about that for me, and I had to explore that. And I think about now even like my brain development and all of the things. And then really what it came down to was getting married and having kids. Like it started to even change my perspective even more. Like going through a pregnancy and what I experienced through that, I saw things so differently, and I saw miracles so differently. And so yeah, so I think it's fascinating, and I do think that it can be a very noisy world. And that was before we had social media. So I can't even imagine. And I always say social media for me, and you girls can definitely agree or disagree, there are so many beautiful aspects to social media that I love. And then there are the ugly sides of it. And I have had to learn in my own life and my own trying to keep my sanity and all of the things. I have to play with the algorithm, and I have to make sure that I'm being very cautious of what I like, what I respond to, because I recognize for me, because I try to be very well rounded, I want to hear all of the sides, I want to hear different opinions, but I also have to be careful of not putting myself out there too much to get this feedback that is all like super negative and just like in my face constantly, because that's when I feel like that's when my mental health starts to suffer, because I'm just being inundated with things that I'm like, I don't have the capacity to hold space for all of that. I just don't. And I have to make intentional decisions on what I allow in social media. Do you guys feel that you have to do that as well?
I feel like even just at the beginning, earlier questions that you asked, like how we're the first like generation to really like get overly consumed with media, all that. In a way, I think it's a blessing
Mm.
because we were such like hamsters to this whole situation
Yeah.
that like I think it's taught us to know our boundaries. Like me and
Mhm.
Elysee constantly delete social media.
Constantly.
like
Constantly
all the time.
deleted.
I get
I
out of
know
it
it
for 2
does
days.
crack me up because you guys
Yeah.
are like, I deleted Instagram and you delete it just for like a week. Is that just
Yeah.
to like have some grounding space for you guys?
Yes, because
Yeah.
but I also think me and you are not normal to do that. I feel
Yeah.
like we're kind of the odd man out to ignore.
Oh,
Because
interesting.
like I like going back to the question before, like I feel like maybe this is just me, but I feel like me and Elysee sometimes are like the people with the cane walking through the mountain, and people are like, please.
Like
Because
old souls, like, do you feel like it's like,
yes, and that's not even to toot our own horns. Like genuinely, I feel like that because what we see and what we've talked about, everyone's just like on a quest to fill up what other people are saying fills them up. Like I
mm,
feel like we've taken that time to step back and be like, no, what are we thinking? What do we want? How do
mm.
we feel? Like I don't think we're really the ones to go on social media and let everything just soak into like our morals.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
if that
And
makes sense. Like
I think the reason I delete it so often is because I
Yeah.
like can feel the shift happening. Like I'll be on Instagram or I'll be scrolling and I can feel something switch in my brain and I'm like, oh, it's happening. It's happening. I'm
Oh,
sucked in.
interesting.
Like I can tell my mindset changes, or I see things and it makes me spiral, or I see something and I believe it to be true. And I catch myself and I'm like, hold on. Okay, we gotta step away. It's time to delete the app again because I can't keep doing this.
Wow, so fascinating. So that maybe that's like a piece of advice for us. Like maybe that's what we need to do as women, you know, because I've never done that. Like I say, oh, I'm not going to look at my phone for a couple days, but you know what? I
Always do.
catch myself in the scroll.
Always
So
do.
maybe it is just a matter of like, now, quick question. This is like totally off the cuff, but like when you delete the app and you put the app back on, are you able to still have your same followers, your same people? Like, is everything still the
Yeah.
same, or do you start from scratch again? I don't even.
no, I
Everything
honestly don't. When I re-download it, I don't even, I almost forget that I re-downloaded it, if that
Yeah.
makes
Oh,
sense.
okay. Okay.
Just jump right. It's like right back where you
You
left
just
it.
jump right back where you. Okay.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
just like
Good to
putting
know.
a block between me and the app. Like I like making it
Yes.
harder for me to get onto it. So
Yeah, yeah, I
I
know.
take it
I
away.
love this. I'm learning something from you guys because I do
Yeah.
giggle when Alexa, I'm like, oh, I haven't seen you on at all. Because I mean, let's face it, as moms, um, not gonna lie, we get half of our info about what's going on in your lives through social media. Like we're like, oh, she's alive. We saw her post. I mean, I think Alexa, you even mentioned that because you don't post that often.
Yeah, like on my main
Or you
nothing.
do it on your close friends. Like I know
Which
there's
is like literally you two and 10 other people.
right, right. And so people question like, are you guys still together? Are you in
Yes.
together? And
And
you're like,
that even
oh, I never
surprises me.
even thought
For
about
someone
that.
to like go out of their way to be like, hey, you haven't posted them in a while. You okay? Like that's also not normal. Like none of this is normal. It's not normal to spend 5+ hours on your phone a day. It's not normal to look at 1,000+ posts. So I think I almost check myself like when it starts feeling like that's reality, then I'm like, no, this is not okay.
Gotta
Because
go.
Because
that's not
here's the
real
thing,
life.
Alexa, I know you're saying that's not normal, but that is so normal for so many people.
And that's like crazy because like I think that's when I go back to like when I know I'm thriving or when I'm my healthiest is when I'm being most human. It's not human to
True.
spend this much time on a phone. It's not human to have this much excess and absorb this much information. This is like if you went to
Yeah.
uh if you went to an amphitheater with 1,000+ people and you were telling them, or you're getting all this information, like that's so overwhelming.
It's
But
that
yet
like
every single
oversaturation of dopamine.
yes,
Yeah.
every single day
Yes.
Not
we're
The
getting
normal.
this.
dopamine hits that are just
Not
constant.
not a normal human experience.
Yes, it's not.
Sure.
Well, I'm glad that you guys recognize that. I think that's going to be enlightening for my generation to hear that coming from you guys, that you guys are recognizing that, hey, listen, we don't think this is normal either. Like it's a lot to process. And so, I know we can be on here forever. There's definitely now my brain is spinning because I'm like, we need to have a series or might need to
Part
pop
two.
on. Like, yeah,
Period.
we need to have a part two for sure. But if you could describe your 20s in one word right now, what would it be and why? If you could describe it in one word.
I still think I'm gonna stick with the word transformative.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
almost stole Alexa's word. Um,
No, steal it. Can you steal it from me?
no, I
Let's
think
be
I mean
twins.
it's mine is so it's like literally synonymous, but I think I would say like variable or like ever changing.
Yeah.
Because like every single almost month something's different.
Something's different.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that you're acknowledging that though and understanding that this doesn't have to be your permanent, but living right here, right now is what we have. We don't have the past, like past is gone. We can't change it. The future we don't know. So the more that we can stay in the present moment and just have the understanding that it's going to change, that it is going to evolve, it's going to, it's going to be transformative. I think if we stay in that space and just get curious, it does make a difference. So I definitely love that. What's your biggest hope for yourself and for the women coming up behind you?
Ooh, that's
Just
a
to
big
stay
question.
authentic.
Be
Yeah.
I think
authentic.
that's always mine.
Yeah.
Just staying true to yourself, and especially like women, yeah, women younger than us. I think just not letting everything else influence who you are.
Mm,
Yeah.
so
I
good.
say like I would add on to that, just like giving ourselves more recognition and recognizing who we are and each other, and
Yeah.
just giving like just like the most like, respectful,
Mhm.
just, I don't know, like viewpoint to it, like no judgment, just listening.
Yeah.
I
Like,
mentioned, I heard you guys both mention becoming your best self. And one of the things that I really talk about with women in general is sometimes I feel like even saying being our best self puts a little bit of pressure on us because
yes.
best always reminds me of like we have to attain to something higher. And I'm like, what would it feel like to be the favorite version of yourself where you actually wake up every day and you really love yourself? And you really feel like this is me, and this is who I feel at my favorite self. And it kind of ties back to what you guys were saying about thriving, and your favorite self is when you recognize the little things, when you're in gratitude. I just have to say, you guys are my faves, and I love you guys both so
Love
much.
you, mama.
And I know that you guys have your whole group of friends. I know we could have each one of them on here, and it would be such beautiful conversations. So I look forward to more. And I would love to do this again because I just think that there's so much
Yes,
value
please.
in it. Yeah, so much value. And you guys are teaching us things as well. I just want to say to you girls, thank you so much, not just for what you're doing, but who you're being. I honestly celebrate you, and I see you and I believe in you more than words can even express. And just sitting here with you and seeing you face to face doing this is so fun. And I'm so grateful that you said yes to this. And then I also want to say to every woman that is listening, I hope that this episode really reminded you that our power doesn't come from performance, it comes from permission, it comes from perspective, it comes from presence. Whether you're in your 20s, your 40s, maybe you're even in your 60s, your story is actually still unfolding. We are not done yet, ladies. We just need to help each other rise. Like in this lifetime, I truly believe that. So I'd love for you to share this episode with a woman who needs to hear that she's not behind, she's just becoming. And if you're ready to deepen that journey, we are just getting started around here. There is so much to offer. Please check out the show notes because there are so many different ways that we can work together. There are so many ways that you can tap in to discovering yourself and just creating the life that you love. And as always, keep rising, keep shining, and know the best day is right here waiting for you.
Thanks for joining me here today. Your presence means the world to me. If you enjoyed what you heard, please consider leaving a rating and review, and don't forget to follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. Head to the show notes and let's connect. Rise to Shine Co. is ready to support you in coaching, collaboration, life tips, or even a coffee chat. Until next time, keep shining, my friends.